Well, a very good morning to you and welcome here to another interesting episode of the Candid Talk here on Herman Manyora's YouTube channel. As usual, my name is Evan Sokenyi. I'm the one seated next to me here and is about to join me and help understand and demystify the intrigues of Kenyan politics. Is none other than a renowned scholar, political analyst and commentator, the man himself from Luambei, Professor Herman Manyora. Prof, how are you?
Wonderful, I'm doing good.
Today I can't see you are in Macho for what?
Yes. To improve my appeal.
Improve your appeal to the audience and everything.
Yes.
Not an ordinary Kenyan for that matter.
No.
Now, Prof, finally, you've been very vocal in criticizing or rather talking about matters to do with the judiciary, our criminal justice system, and here we are finally. We saw what actually took place yesterday. We've been pondering about this, the DPP, the DCI, and so on and so forth. Finally, the case against the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, has finally been
dropped.
Freedom at last. Here we are. Now tell me, Prof, is it freedom for you, or what is taking place? Do you read freedom in what's actually taking place?
Freedom for us. Kenyans are now free.
Just because the case against the Deputy President has been dropped?
Yeah.
Now, I had this conversation taking place at that time, Edwin Sifuna saying that let's not actually start from the up, or from the top for that matter. Let's not actually start from up there. Let's also look at the petty offenders and each and every Kenyan who perhaps is down there, because it's freedom for all of us. Do you think that we should go by Edwin Sifuna's idea?
Yeah. We should. Freedom should come for all of us. Yeah.
Why do you think it's so difficult for the small fish to get this freedom, but the big fish actually?
But you see, you're asking me a very interesting question. I thought by now you know. You could be young, but you must know. Law is not meant to net the big boys. Law is meant to net small people like us. If me I appeared there, I'll be jailed the following day.
Now because
kwanza mimi Manyora wewe unaongeanga mambo mbaya, ingia ndani straight. Kula maharage.
Now, one question that has been asked about the actions of the Director of Public Prosecutions is the issue about pressure. Now, Kenyans are wondering, do you think that pressure was being applied then, or is it being applied right now to influence all this?
It depends on where you stand. If you stand on the side of Kenya Kwanza, Gachagua, the president, then the pressure was being applied on the DPP and the DCI to nail Gachagua and crew. If you stand on the other side, you see Ruto is now applying pressure on the judiciary and the DPP to free Gachagua and the rest. It depends on where you stand. Yeah, that's where this country is. This country is a place where we are not looking at things in the self-interest of the country. What we see and choose to do or see depends on where we stand in terms of the political divide. Not in terms of even your outlook, your worldview, your analysis or your philosophical stand. No. Just because you are with Ruto, then Gachagua was fixed by Uhuru. And if you're on the side of Uhuru and Raila, then Ruto is using the judiciary. So it's a very cheap way of running a country.
Now you've been known to be very vocal and impartial. From your point of view, where do you see?
Of course, as a person with a third eye, I use the two eyes like everybody else. But my third eye tells me, one, we are being cheap, simplistic and cheap. And that this can destroy the country. Because you cannot divide the country forever. We must begin seeing things as a country. Not as Kenya Kwanza, not as Mio. No. That was for elections. But we are perpetuating the elections instead of running government. So my third eye tells me there is nothing wrong with freeing Gachagua. It happens everywhere in the world. The executive, including the US president and other powerful people, will always want the judiciary to do what they want. Sometimes they get their way, sometimes they don't get their way. I wouldn't mind the Gachagua being set free, and I've said it on a number of times. But what disturbs me is the way in which it is being done. It is being done in such a lazy way that many people in the country believe that these cases are being withdrawn against Gachagua and the rest merely because they are now in power, which is not good for the country, which is not good for the judiciary. I've repeated this thing many times. And people like Justice Mother Kwame had better listen to me. What I'm saying is, we always surrender ourselves and submit ourselves to the judiciary. When you offend me, instead of me taking a machete, a panga, I go to the judiciary. But now if the judiciary becomes a place where I have no hope, what country do we have? What society are we going to have? So the judiciary must be extra careful. Even when the DPP has made an application to withdraw Gashagua's case, they must take time. They must ask questions. Even though they may finally accept to the DPP, it must not be with the speed of lightning. They must ask very tough questions. Yes, the DPP has to respond to those tough questions. And it cannot be done in one morning. Because perception then is very, 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 very bad. Yeah.
Now, talking about freedom here, and you're saying here that definitely the law in this country perhaps is just meant for the small guys down there. We have your friend John Waluke,
Yes.
and I heard Edwin Sifuna say that actually, if at all these things are supposed to take place in the manner in which they're taking place, then even Waluke should be released for that matter.
Not even Waluke, everybody. Our jail should not be there. What are our prisons doing? And let me tell you this. You know, I know enough history, political history for that case. And that's why I'm not an historian, I'm not a political scientist. But I'm the one who is presenting the history of Kenya in a documentary that nobody else has done and is able to do. I understand enough history to know that some of these games are very dangerous. Don't push people into saying, okay, is the jail and Mejangea Sisi, eh? Let's wait and see. So I invite these people in the judiciary, in DPP, the political class, I invited them to read some of the things that happened during the French Revolution. And not to imagine those things happened 300 years ago or so. They are not there, for they are not Kenyan, or 200 years ago. No, they can happen anywhere. The problem is when you push people to a corner, when you push people into seeing that jail and prison is meant for the small boys and girls in this country, they can do things that can leave this country in pieces, which is not good. Yeah.
No, Prof, talking about the judiciary here, the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, the former Prime Minister, actually has accused the judiciary of its dalliance with the executive, and is claiming that whatever we are seeing right now taking place is an indication that the judiciary is in bed with the executive. Do you buy Raila's line of argument?
I don't want to believe the judiciary is in bed with the executive or anybody's, for that matter. They have their own beds and their own partners. But the way some of these things are happening, you know, in the speed of lightning, you remove cases against Waititu, against who, Gachagua, you left people wondering. People will be wondering. They'll be asking questions. Because matters of public are prosecuted within the context of perception. So what do people think? A majority of the people think this game is a political game. So I'm saying, even if you wanted to withdraw those cases, can you do it in some style? Hatuwezi kufanya na style kidogo. You know, at least camouflage some of your, even if their intention. Can't you camouflage them? But I'm not saying the judiciary is in bed with anybody. No. I'm just saying, the way these things leave a lot to be desired. And people are left concluding that Gashagua's cases are being withdrawn because he's the deputy president. And that means, therefore, the president has influence over the judiciary, which is really sad, because it may not be true. But that's the perception outside there.
And remember at the same time, now a number of these things are taking place, and Kenyans are reading a lot from actually what is happening, because it's like anybody who is pro the government is on the safe side. You remember when the case of the DCI officers, the ones who were arrested and detained, pending, of course, charged with those kind of extrajudicial killings and the disappearance of those Indians and so on and so forth. They perhaps opted that they could be given some sort of bond or released for that matter, but then we've seen them already detained for another 21 days, and people are asking, if this thing is all about freedom, then why doesn't it apply everywhere on both sides? And we also saw that viral clip of that old man in Mombasa who was actually lamenting and saying that this is the most useless court he's ever seen. He's been in remand for almost a year, and justice delayed is actually justice
What are
denied
you
for
talking
that
about a
matter.
year? I have a case of 1996. I have a case of 2018. Forget, mine, these are civil cases and I'm outside. But there are people in remand prison for years. What are you talking about a year? Years. It's a shame on the judiciary that men and women should stay in remand prison for years on end. And they have time to pat on the back some of these crooks. You see, the sad bit of it is this. You ask me what people think. You know, when you're accused of stealing public money, people can see money has been stolen. There is sufficient evidence all around. That evidence may not be presented in a way a court can listen to, but people can see. Money has disappeared. It has gone to your account. You may have smart lawyers, and I also invite our politicians in this country and the judiciary to take note of what happened in Ghana. And let me not go into details. What Jerry Rollins said, because you are going to hire smart lawyers and you have stolen from the public, you've messed this country, I'll know what I'll do to you, and I'm not going to mention it. Those things are possible anywhere in the world. Don't push people into giving up. When people give up, there isn't anything they can't do. So you see, so if we can see this man has stolen money, sasa anadanganya hii pesa imeenda wapi? So now we still defend that person because he's from our tribe. We do that all the time. Yeah, but we know he has stolen the money.
Yeah, definitely. I saw a number of people, even the former Nyeri speaker
Yes.
of that kind of county assembly, came on board to defend the deputy president, saying that these cases were politically
but we
motivated.
can see money has been lost. We can see money has moved to your account. I mean, it doesn't need rocket science. We know. You may be smart and you compromise the judiciary, or you have smart lawyers. We have seen 2 people murdered with my eyes, and the killers were released. We know. I know so and so killed somebody in my presence. I was seeing like this, but the guy was set free. I know another one. They were again set free. It doesn't mean the killing didn't happen. It did happen. So this guy is still. They should not think because they have smart lawyers or because they have political clout, Kenyans are foolish enough. Kenyans know the guys have stolen money. We know that. And I've always challenged these people. The starting point that you are a thief is, where do you stay? How did you get to Karen? How did you build that house? So, table the evidence. Your children go to UK for studies. Table how do you get that money? All this money you play around with, what will toe up? So maybe. But the law, they say, is an ass. You may compromise the courts or the judiciary. You may have smart lawyers. You may have political goodwill. But ultimately, I'm telling you, ultimately, you'll pay for it. Mimi nikiwa mtoto niliambiwa uhalifu haulipi. It never pays. But the most punishing thing is that you leave this money here. All of it, all the billions you are stealing. You just leave these billions here.
Now, Prof, does this now confirm the kind of illusion that the sole reason as to why these politicians seek these offices is to protect their ill-gotten wealth and amass more wealth?
Yes. Is to get money. When you use those offices to get money, even a small MP, will use CDF to enrich himself and a few other things. And those who have, to use the position to get more, but to protect themselves against an attack. Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, here you have it from Professor Herman Manyora himself, of course, spitting nuggets of wisdom there in matters of current affairs and all that is taking place in the country. Freedom at last, he says. Let us wait and see whether this freedom will roll down all the way to the small fish and petty offenders down there, or it will only be with the political class. Well, till we have this conversation again, have yourself a very lovely day, and please do not fail to subscribe to our channel here at Herman Manyora, and of course at Let's Talk Love KE, and do not fail to comment down there. Otherwise, my name is Evans Okinyi. See you next.